So we are here to discuss digital adoption for BFSI, a surefire way to maximize the ROI. And I have an excellent panel with me. So I will quickly introduce them and then I will hand it over to them for the detailed introduction of them as well. So we have Vivek, who has joined us as one of the panelists. He's a CTO of a company called Finserv Markets, which is a company which is into marketplace of all the financial needs for the users. Vivek, do you want to introduce yourself, and then I will go to Ashish as well.
Sure, Prasanna. I'm Vivek Kant and Chief Technology Officer, Finserv Markets. We are part of Bajaj Finserv Group. We have a financial services and e-commerce marketplace where we offer consumers a very host of all the financial services products, ranging from credit products, secured and unsecured loans, credit cards, insurance products, both life and general insurance, and various consumer durables and electronics and various other products on EMIs. And we offer both our group companies, the Bajaj Finserv Group's products, as well as we have over 30 partners in financial services across, in banks, NBFCs and insurers, whose products we offer on our marketplace. So it's one place on the digital market which can offer the entire needs of a customer across the life cycle.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. It's really a pleasure. Ashish Abshekar, he is a founder of a company called Rika Analytics. He's joining us from Toronto, Canada. Thank you, Ashish, for making us so late for us. And why don't you introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
No problem. Thanks, Prasanna. Thanks for having me, Shubham, Prasanna, and very nice to meet you too. As you mentioned, I head data analytics company, which is primarily focused on financial services, data analytics. And as a background, I have spent a bit of time in banking, over a decade in banking, spanning retail products from deposits to lending to payment products, transaction banking, to treasury services. So it spanned the entire spectrum, both on the product side as well as later towards the end of my span in banking and technology, because I kind of recognized where technology was going to be the prime driver of banking rather than the other way around. So that's what my banking experience. And after that, I took the entrepreneurial journey. I started Rika Analytics, which is based out of Toronto. And lately, my new passion has been investing in young startups, early stage startups, and incubating them and bringing them to market and helping them flourish. So I'm happy to be associated with your team as well, Prasanna, and look forward to doing some great work with you.
Thank you, Ashish. And there is, of course, me. I'm CEO and co-founder of Guide. It's a digital adoption platform, and we'll get to know about the digital adoption as a space as we move forward. So just to kickstart our discussion, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the agenda of what is going to be covered in during this webinar. So we will touch base on digital transformation wave that has been going on for last decade or so, and more so during the pandemic. Then what are the challenges that companies, organizations are facing due to the accelerated digital transformation which is happening? Then we'll deep down a little bit. We'll go to the challenges that are related to change management, training the users, digital adoption, and so on. Then we'll also touch base on how does a lack of digital adoption strategy impact on the ROIs that are there, that you wish to see as a company or as an organization. We'll cover the current techniques that are being used to address these challenges. We'll go over the digital adoption platforms, what they do, what they try to achieve in a brief as well. And then we'll have a Q&A as a session at the later part of this. So we are going to complete the entire thing in, let's say, 45 minutes to 1 hour. That's what the plan is. And if you have any questions, you're free to ask during the Q&A session as well. So let's start digging in. So digital transformation wave. So I mean, I'm very sure all of you must have heard about what digital transformation has done to businesses, in particular BFSI, as India as a market as well as globally. So during last 5-7 years, we have seen the rapid jumps, 10x, 20x jumps in the digital transformation projects, how processes have been defined in the organization and so on. So I will throw this question in front of our panelists. So Vivek, do you want to take a stab at what you have seen during last 5-7 years? What has changed and where do you see all of this is going?
Okay, so I think my experience, and especially in BFSI segment, has been that originally this started about 20 years back with the digital becoming the channel, which is primarily your internet becoming a channel, and banks added internet banking, or the insurance companies added their claim processing or buying a policy journey on their websites, and they continue to evolve to expand the reach. But in last 4 or 5 years, the transformation have been very different, because it is not just about the customer facing applications, but also enabling digital technologies to completely relook at the way our business processes are, and redesign or re-engineer those processes to leverage the digital technologies and improve the turnaround time, the process efficiencies, and bring significant automation in those processes to reduce the human interventions that were needed. So the real digital transformation is more inside out than outside in, and that is where most of the legacy organizations have struggled, and why the new the new entrants have targeted the incumbents. So whether it's the new banks or the new age insurance companies, because they are not challenged by the complexities of their process or the legacy applications, and they have been able to start from scratch and build a completely differentiated experience for their customers as well as their employees, and have a very different processes. So I think the digital transformation inside the organization is and encompassing the entire landscape is what has been the differentiator in last couple of years. Also in last 2 years, pandemic has accelerated the digital wave by several folds. So what was possibly the technology had enabled, but adoption wasn't there. The pandemic has been a big accelerant in the adoption of digital technologies. To quote an example from our own company, from last 3 years, we had the ability of having entire lending journey digital, where including the loan agreement signing is done digitally. However, the percentage of digital signatures versus the physical signatures on the final loan agreement was pretty much 50-50. Now, when the pandemic started, the physical signatures were not there. We had the benefit because we had the entire digital journey, but that the customers started asking for digital signatures and entire digital journey. And even after multiple waves, we are not out of pandemic, but even when the waves subsided and there was no lockdown, we saw that the most of the customers preferred the digital channel for their interactions, and hence the change in the customer behavior is what pandemic has led, and that is driving the very fast growth into the digital adoption as well, and that has been the change in last 2 years.
Sure, Vivek. I mean, of course, the pandemic has changed the entire context for everyone in a way. I remember when we used to run around for the filling out loan application forms, and so it feels like a long back, but it was not a very long back. If you say it was just 4-5 years back, we used to run around for signing the forms and so on. So it's really good how the entire digital landscape had shifted. Ashish, what have been your observations from your perspective as well as North American perspective as well?
Yeah, I think Vivek has summarized it pretty well, capturing the current scene and milieu that's happening across the world, really. The pandemic has kind of flattened the earth quite well. Though my experience, I used to work for a bank which was tied up with legacy systems, and legacy systems from decades ago. So in the Indian scenario, I believe people have been fortunate that they were able to leapfrog that entire cycle, while we here have been stuck with legacy systems. The core banking systems have still not changed. So it's literally a pile up of systems built on systems, and the digital layer is usually just the top layer. So there was and continues to be a challenge there. But what has happened with the pandemic is that whole process, right? Most of the banks, they've had huge budgets already allocated and plans laid out for digital transformation to change the entire stack. Pandemic has just accelerated it at light speed, really. Decisions which would have taken years together, implementations which would have taken years together, have been pushed through, implemented, and you can see that a lot of the change that would have happened over 10 years has happened in the last 2 years. And so the legacy of the pandemic is going to be a completely transformed technology layer in the BFSI environment.
Sure. So let's just go to the next thing as well. So as these things are happening and as we are transforming the businesses digitally, what have been I mean, there must have been a lot of challenges. So there can be a challenge regarding a security. How do you handle that? Or what are all the top 3-4 challenges that you as an organization or as a Ashish, your company as a data analytics company have faced during these accelerated digital transformation phase? Do you want to go, Vivek, first?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So in terms of challenges faced by the accelerated digital transformations, we have an advantage that we are a fully digital organizations, and as a fintech within the group, we have been conceptualized that way. So primarily challenge we have faced is basically even though we have built the technology, the experience by customers is still mixed, because it is still complex for a customer to take a financial product completely in a do-it-yourself DIY mode because of the inherent complexity and the knowledge that it requires. Now, what we have done is we have built a pure omni-channel journey where our customers, say for example, an unsecured loan, he fills up the form till the loan selection, actual loan offer selection, and progressing with the offer is fine. But when it comes to doing the KYC or doing the bank statement validation or doing the salary validation, those are the steps. They are reasonably complex for an average consumer. Now that is where they need assistance. Now assistance, we have built a omni-channel solution. So what that does is that a call center agent is, or a field agent is able to remotely assist a customer by looking at the same view as customer is doing and help assist, either do things on their behalf or do it guide the customer to do it. But still the challenge is that the real scale comes in digital when the customer is able to do the entire journey end to end by themselves. So if it's buying health insurance, they're able to buy this entire health insurance with rider, with understanding what are the benefits, what are the exclusions themselves, and complete the entire journey. Now, which is still complex because of the nature of the financial service products, whether it's health insurance or a secured or unsecured loan, and that's where I think the next change in the digital would come in, where the user experience has to be completely simplified for consumers to navigate through that process themselves, and give them the assistance they need during the process itself digitally, so that another human is not required. They are comfortable and they are confident in making those choices. People can today very confident buying complex, expensive phones on internet. 10-15 years back, people would actually buy simple things on internet, but expensive things, they would still need a face-to-face contact. I think that is the next level of evolution in financial services, where the customers, the experience is easy, products are understandable, and the customer can navigate the entire buying journey without any need for assistance. So I think that is the one big challenge as an industry we have to solve. And I think more than the technology, it's customer behavior, the customer experience, our ability to drive that is going to make a difference.
Sure, Vivek. Ashish, do you want to add on to that? Because I know that you have been doing some work in the customer behavior or the user behavior as as your company as well.
Yeah, Before I go to the customer behavior portion of things, I wanted to kind of touch on the other side of the coin, where stringent compliance, right? The banking, financial services have onerous legal compliance standards, and those complying with those standards even before digital transformation was a nightmare. And after digital transformation, and especially the COVID period, it's become a big challenge to meet those standards, where you're doing all the processes in a proper manner, timely manner, is definitely a challenge. And a lot of banks have responded to that by loosening some of the standards up, so that they can correct those things post facto. But it's still a journey, I feel. So that will continue to remain a challenge ongoing. Now, going back to the customer behavior, there's been a massive focus in the Canadian context on trying to incorporate behavioral science and keeping the customer in this upfront while designing all the processes. Now, behavioral science ultimately is a study of human behavior, and all we are trying to do is change behavior, influence behavior, so that customers as well as our employees behave in a certain manner. Now, there's an inherent reluctance to change, right? So, and change is one of the things that drives that is habituation. People are used to doing things the way they've been doing. And the other thing is everyone wants to have a status quo. There's a bias, like, I know how to do my things, like, why are you changing this? Both customers as well as employees have the same challenge. Now, behavioral science, it kind of gives us some insight, some clues, some pathways, including choice architecture. Like, you design your process in such a way that when the choice comes, you offer certain choices so that you can drive those behaviors in a certain direction, especially direction that you want to take them into. Now, one of the things that we've identified is the fact that there are two basic motivators. One is the person should feel a sense of autonomy, like, hey, I can do it myself, right? That's a very important thing, that I'm doing this, hence I'm involved in it. And so they get a sense of autonomy. The other aspect to that is a sense of competency, that, hey, I'm capable of doing it. Now, if you provide an environment and an infrastructure where you have that sense of competence as well as autonomy, then they feel motivated. Okay, let me try it. I think those aspects need to be incorporated in processes when we are designing our processes.
Sure, sure. It's always important when you kind of want to be, when you are online doing anything, you want to feel that as an end user, I always look for, okay, if I can do it myself, I will do it. Otherwise, it's like I will go to another stuff or something like that. If the systems can capture that essence, it's amazing in a way. So I will again share my screen and move to the next topic of discussion. So now we are going a little one level deeper. So we talked about digital transformation, we talked about the challenges of it. So now I want to kind of focus on what are these challenges from change management or user training or learning and adoption standpoint. So Ashish, do you want to go ahead first and explain your experience on the employee facing applications on these?
Okay, it's been a while where I've designed employee-facing applications, but the whole premise of digital transformation is that it provides us with an opportunity for core banking, for core business units to fundamentally change the way things are done. Now, whenever a new system comes in, HR, for example, or even if you're talking about, let's say, a risk management system. Now, the way to bring on board those systems is a long journey. First of all, the project itself in the old days would take a long time, like a few years, really, to implement fundamental changes. Now, with digital transformation, things have accelerated, but the people have not caught up with that. So managing that whole change management process, right? It's in itself has become a core activity. The moment you propose a change is when your change management processes start. So you need to design all your communication strategies, training strategies, onboarding strategies right up front. I think that's one of the most important aspects that I've learned, that managing change is a core function. You need to start with managing that change. So the change itself, once it is implemented, managing it after that is actually crisis management. You don't need to leave it to that extent. You need to start change management right up front.
Sure, sure. And we have been seeing this when we work with the applications like SAP SuccessFactors. The rollouts are very big, and they just kind of when they roll out, users are still not able to use those applications because either there is a lack of training or the training has happened, let's say 1 month back, and they don't even remember, and so on. So it's employee facing applications is a totally different ball game when we talk about change management and user training and so on. Vivek, what has been your experience on the consumer side of it? So I know you have been deploying and delivering the lot of consumer facing applications, web portals, and so on. How has been your experience on that?
So our experience have been mixed. So basically what happens is what we have seen for any product onboarding journey, and it's mostly onboarding because the digital adoption in servicing is something which we have found massively high, which means once the customer buys a product, any further interaction that they have, say for example, if it is loan, whether it's a prepayment or paying a missed EMI or downloading the statement, all of that customers pretty very confident in doing digitally. That is something which I think because of years of internet banking and various other uses, they're able to do it. Second, on the journey, what our experience has been is that it's a mixed bag, because in the entire onboarding journey, there the initial research and the product understanding part is something which customers do it by themselves. They use our platform to compare various products, And of course, once they select the products, that is where we see the massive drop off happening, where the customers then knows what to buy. There's understanding, they have understood what we can offer. But then after that, a lot of customers want to talk to a person to understand what better can be offered, or and they have some questions which can be clarified. All of that. Now, what we have been doing is trying to make this entire journey simple. So first experience that we did is, so instead of putting the entire experience for all the segment of customers, we are trying to find out a set of customers, can we give them a differentiated journey? For example, returning customers. So if somebody has taken a loan from us, we know their credit history, we know all about them. If they want another loan, or they have taken one product and we want to they want to take another product, should they go through the entire experience of a new customer, new to platform customers? No, not really. So what we have done is, we have built then specific journeys which are differentiated for different segment of customers, which makes it the adoption go much faster. So that has been our experience. And we still see, in terms of complex journey, as I was saying earlier, it is still customers want assistance. Now, what used to be in person now has become digital and remote assistance, but nevertheless the assistance is there now. And what we are working on is now simplifying the product itself and making products easy for customers to understand. So for example, in insurance, we are looking at building a lot of bite-sized sachet insurance, where customers can buy insurance which are very specific. So for example, we have a specific insurance which is a very short term 1-year insurance for a very nominal sum a customer can buy, and it pays a certain amount of money if you get hospitalized for COVID. Okay. It's as simple as that. So customers is able to understand that, okay, I pay X amount of money. If I get hospitalized, I get Y amount of money as on hospitalization that will aid my medical expenses. Now the product itself is so simple that there is no complexity. So now what we have realized is that unless we simplify the product itself, the customer adoption is not going to increase. Even though building the fantastic UI, making the easiest experience, the product itself is so complex that because what is happening is, we are taking the products which were sold offline in a face-to-face context, whether it's a branch or insurance broker or agent going to somebody's home and explaining the products, for example, buying a life insurance or a pension plan. We are taking exactly the same products which were being sold offline, trying to do online. And that has made it very difficult. So the next change that we are trying to do, and it's not easy because, as Ashish was mentioning, our industry is heavily regulated. And we have to make the regulators happy and make sure they are comfortable and the consumer interests are protected and all of that boxes are checked in. But the work, and that is the hard work, and it's not surprisingly more than the technology, is it actually business product development and re-engineering work, which is to make this product itself so simple, then customers can they feel very comfortable in buying these products online. Now in terms of the UI UX, I think customers are now pretty comfortable with certain experience, and there are best practices established, and there are a lot of, as Ashish was mentioning, a lot of behavior science that has come in to make customers feel comfortable, competent to be able to do it. That is all there, but again, we work in a difficult industry in terms of digital, and this is what we, as because we are part of the group which is one of the largest financial services group in the country, and we have a very large customer base. So for benefit of those customers, we have to make sure we are able to change and offer them which help them address their financial goals, and with ease and comfort and through digital channels. So that is the last bit, which is hard bit, but we have to navigate that challenges as well.
Sure. Ashish, do you have any comment on this?
Yeah, I think the premise of the compliance, right? Like with the regulations, that's one part of it. The other part of it is trust. And this is completely a business of trust. Banking, insurance, financial services, the unsaid mantra there is trust. Does your customer trust you enough to take your advice? So to make that leap, you need to provide an environment. And in the old days, they used to have nice fancy buildings so that when you walk into a bank, you feel, okay, fine, this bank is a stable place to do business with, and I can put my deposit here. Now there's nothing, right? Now it's your phone, and your phone is your bank, your computer is your bank. So how do you build that same level of trust that was there in a bank manager down the street, around the corner, who would open his bank at 9 and close it at 5? So that trust and building that trust is a long journey. And I guess only time will tell as to how much trust we've built up. But the new generation, if you look at the demographics and the quicker adaption in the younger generation, it makes me very optimistic, because they quickly learn the rules of the game, and they have a trust network. So if you mess up, you're going to be exposed on social media. So that is the trust network that Gen Z has developed. And we as technologists, bankers, and financial services professionals, we have to adapt to that new world. And Robinhood in the US has literally redefined the complete fee structure there. Now you can trade for free, which was unthinkable. So that whole journey and that change that's happening is a space to watch, and a space for us to respond to that. And a lot of banks are already responding to that. So it's quite an exciting space, really.
Sure. I mean, in Indian context also, so we do have these zero brokerages houses and so on. So it's really wonderful to see how that entire ecosystem has evolved over the years. So so next where we are going is if at all the organizations, if they don't have a digital adoption strategy in place, so when they are rolling out their internal apps for their employees or the consumer facing apps, what has been the impact on the ROI? So because that's the most important question to be answered and to be nailed down on, because at the end of the day, the digital systems are being, so be it the employee facing systems or be it the consumer customer facing systems, the goal is to ensure that the users are able to use the systems, and the investments that are being made are being justified and made well use of. So Vivek, how you see the if you have seen in your past that if there was no adoption strategy in place while launching the system, how does that has evolved into a situation post go live for your thing? And then I will go to Ashish again.
So, Prasanna, the digital adoption strategy has to be in place because digital transformation projects are expensive, first of all, and they cost a lot of money, and especially technology talent is at a premium, as we all know. The challenge specifically comes if the adoption is not thought through. The entire investment that is put in the digital transformation does not bear fruit, because but then what I have seen is that it's always a risk, because with digital, especially consumer facing digital applications, once you build something, you are still playing a gamble, because its customer behavior is very hard to predict, and certain things work, certain things do not work. Now, the way we have tried to mitigate the risk, so first of all, without the adoption strategy, the entire ROI is at risk. But how do we mitigate the risk that because of the uncertainty of consumer behavior and how the adoption is going to happen. It's because what we have done is the way we built our technology is it has to be evolutionary. Now, digital applications, whether it's customer facing onboarding journeys, whether it's servicing portals or any kind of, or even internal facing applications, unless we have the architecture and a strategy in place that we are able to constantly evolve the applications and the customer experience, we are going to, that gets us into a significant amount of challenge. Now, because, for example, and to give an example, and it is not that just digital adoption, when we started our own marketplace, it was primarily to only offer the products for our group company. So if it is, you want a motor insurance or you want a health insurance, it will be from Bajaj Allianz. Or if you want a, a consumer durable loan, or if you want a personal loan, it will be from Bajaj Finance. Now, what we realize is that there is certain amount of effort it takes for customers to come on our platform and go through the effort of actually looking at a product and getting into a buy journey. And then they realize that what is being offered through our group companies is something either they do not like or they are not eligible for. So there is a significant loss of, effort for us to bring the customers on the platform. And then it leads into drop-offs and significantly poor conversion. And that is the situation we were in. And that was primarily, for example, Bajaj Finance has a very stringent credit policy, and a lot of customers with a lower than credit profile would not qualify. And then, they come and put the effort of putting in their details, going through the credit evaluation process, and we telling them, sorry, we can't offer you anything. Now, it's a loss for them and it's a loss for us. Now, what we did is we moved away from that, monoline architecture to an open architecture, where we said, instead of offering, say, loans from Bajaj Allianz, Bajaj Finance, we'll offer loans from various partners. And we invited a lot of partners to be part of our marketplace and enable their products onboarding onto our platform. And now we have more than 10, say, unsecured lending partners. Now, what happens now is that when customers put in their demographic profile and we go through a credit evaluation process, we only show what they are eligible of. And there is always, with such a large number of partners, we are always able to customers offer multiple choices, not just single choice, multiple choices. And then we can tell them that, okay, X partner will give you say a loan of 5 lakhs at a certain amount of interest rate for a certain period. Y will give you a loan of, say, 8 lakhs with a certain amount and certain periods. And that gives customer a choice. And that has been our, learning and our mantra, that our platform will be successful when customers is offered the choice and convenience to make it easy for them, and choices, give them choices, give them, not just one, but multiple things, and they can choose. Customers today are very well informed, they're intelligent, they're able to choose what best suits them. You don't tell them what you have to offer, you give them all options and you let them choose. And that has increased quite a lot of our, adoption, significantly increased our adoption. Now, that pivot we had made was possible because of the, the kind of investment and in the architecture that we have made, that we could change the entire pivot on our business strategy and change the entire, customer experience and bring in a lot of partners and integrate with them. Now, without that investment and that thought process that I am building this, but I have to plan for change and evolution, which is constant going forward. Without that, customer adoption challenge can't be mitigated. So that has been our experience in this space.
Prasanna, you're cracking up. We can't hear you.
In a way, quantify, at least hypothetically, or can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying was to Vivek, can you quantify the ROI decrease when you don't have the digital adoption strategy in place? Like, what has been your take on that? Are you been able to quantify on that, or just you see the churn from the users? That's the
If I
thing
put
which.
a number without ability to adapt and ability to change to increase the adoption, the ROI can be impacted. 30 to 50% ROI is something which is definitely impacted, though it will depend on case to case basis, because there are certain geniuses who can design a customer experience and a product that hits the mark in the first time itself, and fantastically so. But again, not everyone is able to do that, and that is where increase the loss up to 50% is if you don't design it well and not able to mitigate and address the challenges of adoption when they come.
Sure, sure. Ashish,
Prasanna, you're
what has
breaking up.
been your view or the understanding on this as a space? Just give me a moment. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Sorry for that. So, Ashish, I was asking you if you have you seen any significant improvements or the decrease when the decrement when the users or the organizations, they don't have the digital adoption strategy when they roll out the systems from the internal employee facing applications per se?
Yeah, it's so to put your last question first that you asked of Vivek, quantifying it is a very, very difficult thing to quantify, because the implications of it are multifarious. They including impact on experience, employee retention, and training, and all those other things that get wasted. Having a strategy is extremely critical. In fact, I can't think of any modern organization not having a digital transformation strategy in place. I don't think any budgets get approved without that. However, Vivek's point was very crucial. You need to be able to adapt. And that's why the way projects are implemented nowadays is in an agile fashion, as to as you're going, definitions change, requirements change, and you adapt to the changing environment. So yes, having a strategy in place is extremely important. It's a non-starter if you don't have one. Extremely difficult to quantify, but the returns, it depends on how they're defined in the strategy itself. So it'll be I'll leave it at that, I guess.
So I was asking, I mean, Ashish, you can go first. So we have been seeing the current techniques around the digital adoption challenges and addressing those challenges as well. So are you still seeing the instructor-led classroom trainings and user manuals? Because it looks like the way to do this has changed in the past, but changed in this time, but it's still not there yet as a sector or as an industry.
Yeah, looking at that list kind of makes me laugh. Instructor-led classroom training, user manuals. In my early days in banking, on the product side, you won't believe it, maybe a long time ago, user manuals and job aids would be written by the product guy, and the technology implementation, the business analyst would design the screens. Both things would never happen together, and it would take months, literally months together, to just write the job aid. And guess what? Sometimes the job aid would have so many mistakes which would not reflect on the screen that has been developed. Now, we've moved far away from that. We have better training processes. But with COVID, where most people are offsite, or most people are working from home, training is definitely a challenge, and I'm going to wait for you to kind of show us the path, guide us, as it were, to show us the path as to how we could adapt those platforms faster.
Sure, sure. Vivek, quickly your take, because I know the consumer-facing apps are little less complicated, I would say, than the employee-facing apps. What are your take on this?
So, help center on website. Now, what we have seen as a isolated help center is something which doesn't work. So, unless the help is contextual and in the place, it doesn't work. I'll give you a very interesting example. We ask customers for their date of birth, obviously, if taking a loan, and a large number of customers put in the day and the month correctly, but year they leave it as some arbitrary event or 1900 or something like that. Even we can put checks. Now we had to pretty much put a line there that this is very important for your financial records. Please enter the correct birth rate, birth date, including the year. Now, what we have tried to do is on the fields we have put in, the examples and the guidance on what needs to for each field, what the data should be and what we expect from them, and in a very simple terms, so that the customer has a clarity on what data to fill in. In terms of customer support, I think for complex products like SME loan or life insurance or ULIP plan, what we have seen is it's the omni-channel solution where somebody remotely can guide the customer and take them through the complex part of the journey. The omni-channel enables that to customer to take the customer's health, for example, help them choose a health insurance product. But once the product is chosen and the data is filled, the payment is something which customer does it himself. So ability to navigate off and on from assisted mode to a DIY mode and so on is what has helped us improve the adoption and entire journey. So these are two things that we have done. Also in terms of what we have seen is significant improvement in adoption when customer uses our native mobile application. Now we have built native mobile applications. The applications which are built natively in the mobile app has significantly better adoption. So we have recently gone live with our mutual fund platform, and we are offering it only on the app, which means our customer comes to our website, we'll tell them to download the app and start the onboarding journey. And what we have found is that the products like mutual funds and investments and looking at portfolio, mobile app gives much better experience to the customer and ease of navigation and the capability what we can offer them. The experience is much simpler and easier. So that is something. The third point I'll mention, that mobile apps and especially native apps have increased the can help increase the adoption of digital technologies.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run through this slide. There is something called as digital adoption platforms, which kind of help you with a new way of training and making sure users are trained, making sure users are comfortable with your system. So if you are rolling out new systems, if you want to build workflow simulations, if you want to guide customers through their journeys, if they are filling out loan applications, if they are filling out, say, insurance applications, or navigation support for the internal employees, or if you have heard a term like learn while work or learn on the job, something like that. So this is where the digital adoption platforms as a concept, as a tool in your back pocket comes into picture. So I have listed a few very generic level features that any of the digital adoption platforms that they come with. There are something called as walkthroughs, which is like step-by-step guidance or tutorials to help users and employees with a certain process or product inside the application. Then there are contextual help articles, which are like guiding users to explaining the nomenclature, explaining the terms that are used on the application. Then if your users are like not conversant with English as their first language, then it's very important to also offer a multilingual help, maybe in their native language, maybe in their own language as well. So that has been an important aspect which is gearing up. So from the Indian context as well, as we kind of try to penetrate to the next tier cities, next tier 3, tier 4 cities, this multilingual help is going to be a lot in picture. Then there is a way using these digital adoption platforms, dApps, where you can communicate with the users via something called as in-app messaging. So you can actually send some notifications and messages to your users when they are on a particular screen, when they are on a particular page, so that they get guided, they get assisted in a way. So this is about the how digital adoption platforms can help either consumer facing apps, also the employee facing apps as well. I'm quickly moving 2-3 slides on this, and then I will come to you and Ashish, you and Vivek for the final take. I just wanted to tell this as a thing which we went through. So we were working with one of our privileged customers called Bajaj Allianz Life during the pandemic, and they were rolling out their new systems, and they had planned a lot of trainings for their employees, internal employees, and branch offices and call centers and so on. And it was right in Jan or Feb 2020, and then in the March 2020, the lockdown happened, the pandemic started ravaging the entire country and so on. So how we helped was there is an ability inside our platform where you can create these bite-sized videos, less than 1 minute videos, to explain the processes along with the voiceovers, which is like explaining a particular process, like how to create a lead, how to see the renewals, and so on and so forth. And these videos and the walkthroughs actually help them roll out the new systems in a much more better, faster, efficient way. Because of the pandemic, obviously the classroom trainings and the train the trainers and all those things were out of picture, and so on. So that's how any dApp can help you with the rollout of the systems and so on. Quickly moving ahead. So typically, if you consider any dApp, you can expect to see these results. These are, I should call out that these are the results which are dependent on lot of other variables as well. But if you have a dApp in place inside your consumer facing app or employee facing app, you can see the increase in customer retention, you can see boost in user engagement, you can see more application utilization, you can see more productivity improvement, and so on. I think we are already at the top of the hour, so we have 5 minutes. So I can take a few questions from the audience if we have. So you can mention the questions in Q&A. Okay, so the first question is, do digital adoption platforms work seamlessly on mobile applications as well? I would say yes. There are digital adoption platforms which work on web as well as cloud-based apps as well as the mobile applications. So I know there have been lot of new application development SDKs for mobile, like React Native or Flutter and so on. But most of the digital adoption platforms, I would say, support the Android and iOS native applications. The next question is the typical considerations when selecting a dApp. I would say this question boils down to the exact user base that you have. So let's say you have a user base which is not in the cities or which is not in the core urban population, as I would say, then you have to consider a dApp which supports the native languages, which supports the local lingo and so on and so forth. So that's the one consideration that you may need to take. The another consideration is what kind of analytics that platform offers you. So how does the usage is being tracked? How does the customer or the user behavior is tracked? That is something you have to consider as well. And obviously then there is a feature checklist of any dApp per se, which is like which is like on the walkthroughs or the process explanations and so on and so forth. I have one more question from Dipesh. How do you tackle the risks that occur during digital transactions? So the risks of digital transactions is, so there is obviously a big push towards cloud, as well as big push towards the cloud security aspect. So you have to enable the encryption at rest, at rest as well as at transit. You have to do the penetration testings on the regular intervals. You have to make sure that your data is kind of secured for each implementation of yours and so on. I have one more question. Maybe I will take this as a last question. I want to ask team, does digital platform will be beneficial for escrow account and lease lender or commercial property lending as a process first? I would say any process, if it is, if you think that there needs to be an assistance which is required for the users or the employees to perform certain activities inside the application, then yes, the digital adoption platforms will work or will be needed for that particular application. I hope, Sheetal, that answers your question. Are there any other questions? We have like 1 or 2 more minutes. Okay. Okay. I don't think we have more questions. So
we have something in chat.
Yeah, there's one question from Apurva. Do we
yes.
need DAP if we already have LMS? I believe LMS mean learning management system, or what is the difference between DAP and LMS?
Sure. So it's a very important question. So a lot of times, even we get this question a lot. So LMS is a learning management system which is more catered or tailored towards, I would say, more involved learning. So you want to do a course, entire course, where you need to go through the go through the videos, go through the courses, the quizzes, and so on. DAP is something more on the side of learning while you use the particular application, particular asset. So it's more like right within the application rather than moving out of the application to seek help. So yes, if you have LMS, there still needs to be a DAP which is required to be installed, integrated right within your applications. Okay, there is one more question from Swati. What is the thing you said about product managers and business analysts while working on the websites? I'm not sure if I follow this question, but product managers and business analysts basically have to come up with the adoption strategies when they roll out or when they design any systems for their employees and for their users, I would say. So they have to keep in mind that the features that they are rolling out might not be as intuitive as they are while we are designing them. So they have to make sure that the features are being explained in their own understanding language to the users, rather than explaining them the way we as a builders or creators understand. So that's what I can think of as an answer. All right, we are exactly at the top of an hour. So Vivek and Ashish, thank you very much for spending time with us. I hope that the audience has liked and loved our discussion, and I will again reach out to you and share any insights that I get from the audience and so on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Prasanna.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you.
It was a pleasure being here, and great conversation, and wish you the best for your endeavor.
Thank you, Ashish, for staying up late for us, and thank you, Vivek, for taking the time out from your busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm ending the webinar. Thank you. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.